Ahoy, everyone! Today's guest is someone I want to talk for a long time. When I first met him, I thought he was just a retired, chatty business person who loves photographing. But one day, I got a LinkedIn request from him. I was a little bit curious, so I checked his portfolio. I want to know what business he started before, maybe join him one day. And I was shocked, surprised. How can this be possible? He's not a businessman at all. He's a Navy. How could that be? Because I thought the people from the military must be serious, severe, and intense. He's not like that at all. He's funny. He's easygoing, chatting, everything likable. So I couldn't imagine him. He's a Navy. And you may thought, okay, the career like that must lead him a single, boring life. No, he has an amazing wife with 3 kids. Happy marriage, long marriage. And you may also think, okay, retirement means slowing down. No, he changed the definition of retirement. He said, this is a new start. I feel like his whole journey is challenging accepted, mission completed. So, are you a little bit curious and a little bit jealous about today's guest? Welcome, Stuart.
Thank you for that nice introduction, Joy. I'm so happy to be with you.
So, Stuart, comment ça va?
Ça va très bien. Et vous?
Bien. I just can speak a little bit of French. I know you're
It's
bilingual.
It's perfect.
So, Stuart, as a guest come here, I have some warm-up question. Pretty quick answer. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Okay. So how do you feel about you today? How old do you feel in general? Not your actual age. How old do you feel?
I feel young. I think we all have to keep active and feel young all the time. You have to embrace life every day. Mm-hmm. And I feel young, happy to be here. It's great to be in a academic institution as we are today. And I miss my my student days.
Student days. And also I feel like you are a social person. Are you born to be sociable, or is because military life changed you become a sociable person?
I think the military certainly has helped me be more social. I've always been a fairly outgoing person. I was the middle child of 5 in my family. But certainly I think the military has had a positive influence on me being a people person.
It's not negative, it's positive. That's very interesting. So what's the most thing you missed about military life after retirement?
Travel.
Traveling?
Travel.
What's the one habit you cannot shake from your military life? You still have the habit from military.
I still make my bed every morning.
Get up early.
Exactly.
And challenge accepted, mission completed. That's bravo. So Stuart, as we all know, before he retired, he's a very successful Navy, and lots of young folks has very curious about Stuart's life. So today I invite Stuart to my podcast to talk about his life. So Stuart, we have summarized a lot of questions. And are you ready to answer some questions?
I am ready to answer every question.
That's pretty good, because question can be very spicy later on. So first question is, can you briefly describe what you do as a Navy in military? And then maybe also tell what bring you to military?
So my father was in the military. He was in the Air Force, and I was raised in a place called North Bay, Ontario. Mm-hmm. And I was very interested in what my father did. He showed me what he did. He took me to his workplace, and he was a fighter controller. So he would control aircraft in the event that there was an airplane coming to attack North America. He worked in NORAD. And so I thought that was very interesting. And when I was finishing high school, my father got transferred from North Bay to a small town called Penhold, Alberta. I didn't really want to move to Alberta to finish my high school, so I went.
Why is that? Because cowboy culture?
No, it's just another small place that I I just decided because I was almost finished high school in North Bay, I just decided I didn't want to go to Alberta for 1 year to finish.
I see.
So I went to the military recruiting center and I said, I'd like to join the Air Force and do the same thing my father did. And they said, unfortunately, we don't need people for that right now. So
That's too bad.
how about the Navy?
Ooh.
And I said, the Navy? That's crazy. What's a crazy idea? And they said they did a very good job of explaining to me that I could get a university degree fully subsidized. So I didn't have to, I was actually paid to go to university. And once I did my 4 years of study in university, then I would have to serve in the Navy for 5 years. So I decided, okay, I'll give that a try. And off I went to le Collège Militaire Royal de Saint-Jean in Saint-Jean, Quebec, just east of Montreal. I studied there for 2 years. And then I transferred to Royal Roads Military College in Victoria, British Columbia, where I finished my degree in physics and oceanography. When you graduate, then you have to work in the Navy for 5 years.
So, Stuart, why physics and oceanography?
That degree was particularly useful for my Navy career. Actually, I had wanted to study marine biology, but they didn't have it. So I had to do physics
Now
and
they probably
oceanography.
have it.
Yeah, they may now. But physics and oceanography was very useful in my Navy career because I ended up later on specializing in anti-submarine warfare. And physics and oceanography is largely the study of the transmission of sound in water, which was very useful in practical terms when you're trying to actually find submarines out in the ocean. So I did that, and I became a naval warfare officer. And the first summer I went to sea on a ship, I fell in love with the Navy. I loved it. I traveled from Esquimalt, British Columbia, to San Diego, California, and then to Hawaii. We crossed the Pacific and went to Hawaii. And I said, wow, I can get paid and do a career traveling around the world like this. It's fabulous. So I continued on, and when I finished my 5 years, I had a choice to leave the military with my work experience and my degree, and I decided to stay on. I was having so much fun. So I ended up serving 37 years, and in the Navy, I reached my ultimate goal, which was to be captain of a ship. I was captain of His Majesty's Canadian ship Toronto here in Halifax from 2004 to 2006.
And also, Stuart, so because lots of students, they have already finished their degree, like probably hosting some master or bachelor of science. And you mentioned after you graduate from high school, you attend a military school. Is it too late for people to join after they finish their degree?
No. In fact, it's actually preferred. If you want to apply and join after you've already finished your degree or a college diploma, that's even preferred, because then the military can take you into an occupation and you can start work immediately.
So you don't have to go to the intro-level job?
No, not at all. Not at all. You'll go. Well, you will start in an entry-level job, but you'll be immediately getting a good salary. Most of the starting salaries now for most of the occupations in the military are quite good, in the order of $50,000 to $60,000, depending on which occupation you're getting into. And then the pay raises come quickly once you're in the military.
So you get promoted easier than before.
Yes, and there's a huge variety of different occupations. Even just alone in the Navy, there's 108 different occupations that
That's a lot.
A person could consider joining. And then the Army and the Air Force have the same thing. The other advantage is you could work part-time. We have a reserve organization. So here in Halifax, we have a reserve division called HMCS Scotian, and you can be a part-time military person there, helping to pay for your studies or just make some extra money. And that's a way that you can actually try out the Navy, to see if you like it or not.
And also, I was wondering, for the military school, do they have a physical exam check? Because I know, Stuart, you don't have seasick. Not a lot of people are lucky enough. Because when I went to the boat, I just threw out. I cannot adjust that. So people have the Navy dream. So does that mean they have to be on the boat all the time?
So you're not on the boat all the time. I was in the Navy for 37 years, of which 16 years I was actually working on a ship. Now, I happen to be one of the lucky people who never get seasick.
Jealous? I am.
Many people get seasick, but often, in most cases, people are sick for maybe a day or two, and then the inner ear gets used to the motion of the ship, and then they're not sick anymore. There's a small percentage of people who are seasick, chronic seasick, and they're sick all the time, and unfortunately, those people can't stay in the Navy. But we tend to be able to offer them other employment where they're not going to sea on the ship.
And also, I'm very curious because I always thought the military and Navy, those are men-dominated field. So can you give some example about how women can play an important part in Navy or Army?
So right now, in the Canadian Armed Forces, there are no occupations that are restricted. All occupations in the military are open to women.
That's a good news.
We right now have, I think, 16.3% of our military population is women, and we're trying to raise that to 25%. So 25% is the target right now that the military is trying to achieve. So certainly, if you're a woman and you're interested at all in the military, I think, Joy, that you should apply and give the military a try. And I did verify this morning that as a permanent resident, you can apply.
Oh, that's
Canadian
the thing.
Citizen
I don't know that.
Or Canadian citizen or permanent resident may apply to join the Canadian military.
Oh, this is the new part I've never known because I was always been told you have to be Canadian citizenship you can apply. Maybe we can do more research about that to see if you have the dream. But Stuart, I have to tell you, I have a bad seasick, and my great grandpa is a Navy. But he passed away way before I was born. I saw those awesome photos because he took his son to travel across the world on the ferry for free. And also my grandpa has a very adventurous life. He studied in different countries, know a lot of languages because of my great-grandpa had this advantage. So there's a lot of good advantage of Navy life. So Stuart, I want to ask, so what's the hardest part of Navy? So people probably are hating to talk about that.
So there's a few aspects that are hard. If you join the Canadian Armed Forces and the Navy, you don't have total control over your life. The military imposes service requirements on you. So if the military needs you in a different geographic location for employment, then you're going to have to move. In fact, from the time I met my wife in 1992 until I retired in 2015, I moved 17 times. So you have to be adaptable to working in different locations and under different conditions. Sometimes I would go to sea and be gone for 6 months. So a lot of people would see that as a terrible thing because you don't want to be away from your home and your family for 6 months. So it's a sacrifice that you have to be prepared to make. Now, that's the Navy. The Army and the Air Force, each environment has a little bit of difference. In the Air Force, you might be a pilot, and you might have to deploy somewhere else in the world and work for a few months and then come back home. So there is a disruption, and you don't have complete ownership of your own life. You have to make sacrifices in order to fulfill your contract of service.
So what if a person who attended military for several years and he doesn't or she doesn't want to stay there longer, he wanted to move out somewhere. So do you think the skill from the military can help this person make a new life?
For sure. Depending on which occupation you choose. I'll give you an example. My brother was a cook in the military. So he transferred around. He worked with the Navy, the Army, and the Air Force. And then when he retired out in Comox, British Columbia, he continued on. He had all of the skills of a capable chef, and he continued on as a civilian cook. If you're a radar technician, then you're given electronics training and training in high-tech equipment. So when you choose to leave the military, you've acquired all of these skills that can then be transferred into the civilian employment world.
So there's a lot of good advantages for military school. And after that, you can also be self-employed. A lot of stewards and old friends, they started their own business. So there's lots of way to do that. And I hear something very spicy. And Stuart, you mentioned because, for the army, military, navy, or something, policeman, police officer, even CBSA, their life can kind of be unstable in a way because they travel a lot. They don't have a time with their parents, their families, their wives. So I was wondering, how did you maintain a good relationship with your wife?
So you really need to work at it. And it's not easy. And it's particularly difficult, I think, for my wife, because it was her who was staying home and having to look after our children and largely raise them without me being there. But we decided that we could do it. My wife's a very strong, confident, passionate person. And we dated for a couple of years. I continued in my naval service so that she could get used to it, to appreciate whether it would be a life that she could get along with.
So what made her so determined? Okay, this is something I can choose. But
she met a great guy like me.
There's lots of good options there. Why she said, okay, I can sacrifice for that?
No, I at the end of the day...
You must do something to make her feel valued and appreciated, I believe.
I did. I mean...
So what did you do? What's the secret?
We were just a very happy couple. We had a great relationship. We had a lot of fun together. And in some ways, they say absence makes the heart grow fonder. So when I was away, it was difficult. But when I got home, it was always a wonderful reunion. And we were so happy to be back together again. The other thing is, nowadays, if you go on a long deployment, if you're away for 6 months, the military now offers a great vacation package. So I could either fly home to during the 6-month deployment. I could fly home and visit my wife and children in Canada, or she could come and visit me in a country like Holland or Germany or Greece or Spain or France. And so we could have a vacation together during that 6-month deployment. So we weren't separated for the whole 6 months.
Yeah, for the 50% of time your wife was alone. So when she feels lonely, and so what she can do, and you are not here. So how did you maintain those kind of close spiritual connection during the time when you were absent?
So when I joined the Navy, it was terrible because the only thing you could do is write a postcard. When you arrived, this was in the late 1970s and early 80s. You could arrive in Hawaii and write a postcard and send that to my mother and father, because I wasn't married at the time. I would send them a postcard saying I miss you and I love you. Nowadays, of course, you have the internet, so you're basically connected all the time. Even when you're out at sea, you're able to talk to your family. You're able to send emails. You're able to connect through a satellite phone or through FaceTime. So you still are able to maintain that connection. That said, it's still difficult because you're separated. One thing that's great about the military is once you're in the military, you have an immediate social community.
And so you introduce your wife to the social community.
Yeah, so...
that's very important.
Each military base has what's called a military family resource center. And that family resource center connects all of the families of all of the military people who are away. And so families have the opportunity to participate in kids' play days, coffee meetings, get-togethers. So they're interconnected with other families. And so the spouse being away working isn't as hard because the families can communicate with each other.
Yeah, so I guess what people are worried about to kind of married in a military life, it's because we are not worried about you are too busy or something. We are really worried about, women are very worried about is the uncertainty. If you don't give the full commitment, and also the man will use, I'm too busy, I cannot do it, to push people away. So how did you handle this when your wife says, I miss you a lot, and how did you handle that stress?
I just regularly stayed in touch with her. by the way, it's not only the men going away, it's now the women going away. So I have a good friend who's actually commanding the East Coast Navy right now. Her name is Jose Kurtz. And Jose Kurtz, her husband stays at home and looks after the children when she's deployed. And so it's not just women staying back, it's now men staying back because we have women who are serving happily in the Navy as well. The biggest thing is having a strong relationship before you go away. So if you have a good, strong relationship, the spouse who is left behind obviously has to be independent, strong, confident. But then once you're deployed, staying in communications, offering support and empathy to the situation that your spouse is living while you're away working, that's about as best as you can do. But even then, Joy, it's not easy. So certainly for the spouse that's left behind, it's not easy. There are times when my wife was very, very unhappy that I was gone.
So how did you deal with that unhappiness? Did you guys have? I don't believe you guys have never have a conflict. I don't believe that.
I'd be lying if I didn't say we didn't have conflict sometimes, because sometimes one of my children would get in trouble at school, or there would be some problem. I remember I went on a United Nations mission to the Central African Republic during the winter, and I lived in Kingston at the time. And in Kingston, they had a huge snowstorm, and I was in Africa where the temperature was 35, 38 degrees, and my wife was buried in snow back in Kingston. And happily, I was working at an Army headquarters at the time. The Army sent some soldiers, and they shoveled my wife out of the driveway and stuff so she could get out and get groceries. So, again, the military community came.
She never complained. Why you are not here with me?
Of course she complained. Of course she did.
How do you deal with the complaint?
I basically said, sweetheart, I love you, and tomorrow's going to be a better day. You just have to be patient and keep working.
That's very important to hear, actually.
Yeah, and she's a very amazing woman. Anybody who's a spouse to somebody in the military, they're all heroes, because their lives are just as difficult as those who serve in the military, in my view. And
But have you asked your wife a question? So, hey, honey, so if you go back to your 20 when you first meet me, will you still make the same decision, stay with me, or you go for your career?
So I think my wife's answer would be yes.
Why are you so confident?
So, interestingly enough, I described as one of the disadvantages of being in the military the fact that you have to move all the time.
Yeah.
But it's also an advantage because it's exciting. And my wife, as it turns out, really enjoyed that facet of my career, that we were moving every 2 or 3 years. And we moved outside of Canada several times. We went and lived in Virginia Beach, Virginia, when I worked for the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO. We went to Paris, France for 1 year. And at the time, we went with 2 very young children, and we came back with 3 very young children.
Wow.
We went to England. My wife and children moved to England and lived just outside of London. And I went to sea for a full year. So I was gone for 12 months, with the exception of a Christmas vacation period. And my wife and children lived, adapted to a new life in England, new schools, and they loved it. And then my final posting in the military, I went to Cairo, Egypt. And that was about as exciting as it gets, living in North Africa. So my wife and my children viewed those moves as adventures and exciting. And when I talk to my kids now about how they enjoyed that crazy life of moving to Cairo, Egypt, they all say it was wonderful.
An adventure.
Now, there was days when we were there where they were unhappy because it's hard to adapt to a new culture.
Yeah.
So you always have difficult times. But once you've adapted, you embrace the culture you're living in, and all of those different travel opportunities to see the world. It's a wonderful thing, and my wife and kids really, really appreciated it.
I guess Stuart definitely gave a very appreciation for his wife, so his wife can be that loyal. So because nowadays women was being told, because the man can always be uncertain, we have to have our job, have to be very secure about it. So people, the compromise, it's not like always ask the women to compromise. Like the example you give, the men stay at home, the women work out. And I guess what's very important is what Stuart said, the communication and the trust, the good relationship you build before you go away. So I can see this relationship works. Even long distance relationship can work if you have a good foundation. I think a relationship died out is because lack of communication and common interest.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I agree completely. And when it came time for me to retire, I did a retirement course with
Actually,
my wife.
I'm very interested in that part as well, because after you retired, I think things will slow down. Your wife can finally have you 100%. She should be very happy. But it seems you're not letting her have you. Why is that?
So the thing we love the most now that we're retired is traveling, because we were used to that over my career, to travel, to see different countries and meet different people and enjoy life. So when I retired, I was the one who wanted to stay in one place and grow roots. And when we finally got to Halifax in 2020, I said, okay, that's it. I just want to stay in one place. And my wife said, no, we have to keep traveling because I love traveling. So she's used to that adventure and traveling and moving. And she was disappointed when I wouldn't have any more opportunity to get transferred to other cities in the world.
That's very interesting, actually.
But we both decided in retirement we needed to stay busy. You have to, if you retire and all of a sudden, I think you sit at your breakfast table and you look at each other.
Just like an old roommate.
Exactly, an old roommate, and then you have nothing to do. Your life is going to not be exciting, and the chances of your marriage continuing to thrive will go down. So when I retired, we did a retirement course. My wife and I did a retirement course before we left the military. And the first speaker was a psychologist. And the psychologist said, when you retire, there's many different negative aspects that are going to change in your life. The first one is you're not going to move anymore. You won't be moving anymore because you're going to find a retirement spot and you're going to stay there.
Yeah.
Your children will likely reach the age where they leave your house.
Yeah.
So my wife, of course, spent most of her adult years while I was moving, raising the 3 kids. Well, all of a sudden, the 3 kids are gone. So a big piece of activity in her life has disappeared because the children have all left the home. And then the final one is you lose your social community.
Yeah.
I described the military having a social community.
So they just shut the door. They don't contact you anymore.
Well, yeah, you're no longer in the organization, so your regular communications with the military family, it evaporates.
How about the retired ones?
Oh, sorry, I still belong to retired naval associations. I still have connections, but it's not the same as being in a military unit where you have that close-knit community.
I see.
For both the family and the military. So the psychologist said, if you want to succeed in a happy marriage after retirement, the best thing you can do is remain active and find some activities that you can do together with your spouse, and also some activities that you can do as individuals. And so that was a very important lesson that my wife and I had to work at once we were retired, because as soon as we were retired, we immediately, our kids left home, we had no children, we decided, okay, we need to find activities that we like doing together. There's the obvious one, which is travel. So we had time, and it was just the 2 of us, so we could get on an airplane and we can travel to England or we can travel to Spain. So each year, minimum, we take 1 trip together, sometimes 2 or 3. And now, because my daughter works for Parks Canada up in Ottawa, we regularly drive up to Ottawa to see our daughter and our son, who is also up there. So we have travel. We started curling, so we needed a winter sport because winter sometimes in Canada can be quite long.
Yeah.
So we started curling.
Why curling? There's lots of like hockey, lots of social.
It was something you can easily do together as a couple. Curling is a great, and it's difficult to learn, but once you learn the game, it's a great recreation and it's a great social sport. So you play on a team of 4 people against another team of 4 people. When the game is over, the team that won the game buys the drink, a refreshment for the losing team. So you always have you have a social time. It's always good to lose, because then they buy you a drink. But it's a very social sport. So all of a sudden, when we started curling, we had a social community that was wonderful and a great community to replace that military community that we had, that military social community. So we started curling. Individually, I decided to go into photography because while I was still serving in the military, I had received a little bit of photography training.
So how was that actually, that journey into photography?
It was fabulous. Before I went to Egypt, I received 2 weeks of photography training so that when I got to North Africa, I would...
Why will you have like those training? Because you were doing something way different than photographing.
I was. So the job I was... my last job in the military was as a defense attaché at the embassy in Egypt. And all of the North African countries. So I worked in Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Libya, Egypt, and Sudan, 6 countries. So my wife and I had to study Arabic language for 8 months in Ottawa, which is a very difficult language to learn, but we needed a little bit of language capability before we could live in Cairo, be able to order our groceries, be able to survive. And then after that, I had a short period of training to prepare to be a defense attaché working in the embassy. And part of that was learning a little bit about photography so that when I was in North Africa, I could go to a defense conference or an exhibition.
I see.
And I would bring my camera and photograph new military equipment that Canada, the Canadian Defense Department, might be interested in or not aware of. And so I got a little bit of photography training. And then when I arrived in Cairo, in my office, I had a camera and a bunch of lenses that I really wasn't good at using yet. But I got to practice my photography while I was working. It was great. So when I retired, came back to Canada, my wife asked me, what do I want for a retirement present?
That's very sweet.
And I said, I'd like a camera. And so she got me a camera, and that's my individual passion. My wife likes knitting. She likes reading. She has a big family here in from Cape Breton, so she's very busy with her family and her hobbies. And I'm busy with my photography. So we have individual things that we can do so that we're not always in each other's faces.
Yeah, because a lot of people will make the mistake in the relationship. We thought we have to hold together, be co-independent.
Exactly.
But it's not like that. We need some like individual life, and also we need some. We have to kind of have a time with doing things together, but we also need the space.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer that you need that time together, but you also need separate space apart.
But Stuart, a lot of photographers, so it's like even like Richard, he retired, he just doing some self-study. But you tend to apply NSCC. That can be a big challenge, especially I believe your common class are younger than you. So how do you feel about that? And also why NSCC is because it's easy to apply?
So I retired in Ottawa. But my wife and I had a house here in Halifax, so we knew always we were going to come back to Halifax. So when I was in Ottawa with my new retirement present, the camera, I started doing photography on my own, and I would watch some YouTube videos and try and learn as much as I could. But I reached a point where I was enjoying photography, but I wanted to get even better at it.
Professional.
And so my wife and I moved from Ottawa back to Halifax in 2020 to our home here. And the military and the Veterans Affairs Department came out with an education benefit, which allowed me to have my college program at NSCC paid for.
Another advantage for Army.
By the Veterans Affairs Department. It's a wonderful benefit. So if you serve at least 20 years, right now the benefit is approximately $40,000.
That's a lot.
And if you've served a longer career, like I did, with 35 years of service, then the benefit is in the order of $80,000. So you have quite a bit of money to go back to school and study for a potential second career. Because my passion was photography, I went to NSCC, and I have to tell you, Joy, it was the most fabulous experience of my life.
Is it very hard to apply in NSCC?
So there's a required photography portfolio, so I found that challenging.
How can that ask you? Because you're just a student. How can you have a portfolio to submit?
They want to be sure that you're a serious candidate, that you're serious about getting in. So you have to do a certain amount of preparation and learn a certain amount on your own before you get in. So you have to show potential as a photographer. So I worked for about a year taking pictures for my portfolio. I got some advice from people who were already in the photography industry. They helped me select my best photos to put together. And then I sent them in to NSCC. The photography faculty review your portfolio, and if you show potential, then you can get accepted.
Oh, it's harder than I expected.
Yeah. So, but it was great. I was in a class of 15 students, half of whom were international students. So I had colleagues from Brazil, from Mexico, from China.
It's like traveling again.
It was just a wonderful group of people. Needless to say, I was the oldest because I went in as a mature student at, I think I was 59 when I started studying. So I was older than my faculty, older than all the students. But it was such a great 2 years because it kept me young. It kept me young associated with all these young students.
You don't feel embarrassed at all, even though they're way younger.
Not at all. So it was a fabulous 2 years. I learned so much great skills in photography, videography, entrepreneurship. So we had business classes to get so that when we graduated, we would be able to set up our small businesses and get started immediately as photographers. So I have a small business called Anchors Away Photography, and I just love meeting people like you, photographing beautiful people like you. It just makes me happy.
So, okay, here I'm going to ask a very tough question. It's like a situation question. So, because right now, no matter what kind of jobs, you will face the rejection. As a photographer, you also will face rejections. So here are two scenarios. I want to do something fun with you. Let's play an example. So first example is, imagine I'm wearing the Navy suit, sitting in a cafe, and you never know me, and you want to take a photo for me, and you have to ask me for that. And let's do that.
Hi, my name's Stu Moores. I'm a local photographer, and I just saw you here, and I was also in the Navy, and I'm looking...
But I'm not in the Navy.
No, I understand, but I'm looking at your wonderful clothing. It reminds me of my time in the Navy.
Oh, thank you.
It's very stylish and interesting, and I wonder if you would mind if I could have a chance to photograph you.
Right now, I'm studying and I have a friend with me. Feel a little bit uncomfortable.
Actually, it doesn't have to be right now. It could be any time convenient to you. I can make myself available. So if you would prefer, what I can do is give you my business card. And when you're available and interested and ready, then maybe we could organize a photo shoot at a place that's convenient for you. I will bring my equipment. And it wouldn't take too long. We could keep it as long as you can spare your time, and maybe do a photo shoot.
And I don't feel like I'm that confident. I don't feel look good. And do I have to do a lot of preparation?
Do you know what? I remember when I started photo school, I hated getting my picture taken. Most people find it very difficult. I find that with experience, it gets easier over time. And I think if gave it a chance, I think you might actually really like it.
Do you
Now,
charge a lot? Cannot afford that much, actually.
So I'll be honest, right now I'm trying to build my photography portfolio. So I wouldn't charge you anything. We could just do a free photo shoot. If you like the photographs, and then at some point maybe you would like more photographs, then we could consider whether you pay me or not.
Okay.
Or you could also refer me to your friends. If you like the photographs, you could refer me to your friends, and I would be happy to help them out if they would like pictures.
Okay, I would like to take your business card.
Okay, great. Here you go.
That is a very good example for somebody you never know. So the strategy is like you kind of have a nice talk to them.
Yes.
In the first.
I'm a firm believer that whenever possible, if you have the time, you need to make a connection. You need to be able to just talk with people for a couple of minutes, because maybe, as you did in the scenario, maybe you're a busy student, and maybe I approached you at the wrong time. So then the best thing is to say is, okay, no problem, but here's my card, and maybe when you have more time, if you're interested, we could get together for a photo shoot.
So you don't feel brokenhearted when people reject you?
No, not at all. And I often find I have a personal project that I'm working on where I go down to the Halifax waterfront early in the morning, mostly during the summertime. So at 5 o'clock in the morning, many people are down at the waterfront to enjoy the sunrise. So I'll go down there and I bring a little bit, a small flash kit with me, and I'll do some photography, and probably 90% of the people say, sure, you can take my picture. 10%, they're not comfortable. And that's no problem, because some people are very private. They don't want to get their picture taken, and that's fine. We can't get upset about that, because all people are different. If they say no, then that's okay.
Okay. Second scenario, it's a little bit harder. So before that, I was like new people, I never know Stuart. So how about I'm an old customer? So Stuart, I believe you will send a message to your old customer to maintain a relationship. So when you reach out to me, but this time I will say something rejection. Let's do it.
Again, that's fine. So I have customers, and generally after I've done a photo shoot, I'll try and make sure that the customer is satisfied. Hopefully,
let's try it.
Okay, Joy. I really appreciated the opportunity to do a photo shoot with you and your friends.
Stuart, I have to say I don't really like the photo you did last time, and I think maybe it's better you not post the photos.
Okay, no problem, Joy. Listen, I think what I'd like to do then, I want to make sure that all of my customers are satisfied with their work. I would like to offer you a reshoot, so we could do another photo shoot. I will reduce my price by 50%, so I'll give you a discount. I'll do some extra photography, and then we could look at those pictures together, because maybe you don't like my editing style, in which case I'll change my editing style to deliver to you the photos that you like. I believe if you give me another chance, that we can find success together. So how about we do that reshoot, and then we take some more pictures, I give you a reduced rate, and we see how it goes.
So I have to say I'm being very picky these times, and I have already arranged the shoot with another photographer. So in this case, I think I still have to cancel it.
That's no problem. So just keep me in mind. If things don't work out with the other photographer who you've chosen, please contact me anytime, and we can try and do another shoot. I really would like the opportunity if you decide in the future that you'd like to give me another chance.
Wow. Excellent. It's just like, so why I ask Stuart this question is because this can project in your kind of interview. For example, when we are getting coffee chat and the employer kind of like us and they give us the interview, probably went to several rounds, and suddenly they say that I had someone who's better. So most people will get rejected and feel it's something. But what Stuart said is, maybe you don't like this part, I can work it better. Maybe things doesn't work out, you can always contact me. It makes people feel like he cares. He is very self-confident. So people, I feel like he's not regarding the rejection, it's like some big deal. It's more like a people's choice. You didn't choose him this time, we'll choose him next time.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, I may not be the perfect photographer for everyone, and we have to realize that. Each photographer has their own style that you develop over time. And so I don't expect everyone to enjoy my style of photography. So if they don't, many people don't enjoy flash photography. I love flash photography, so I love to use lights. And so some people will look at my photography and say, this is too much flash. In which case I say, I'm sorry, but that's the type of photography and the style that I do. So maybe you need to consider, and I'm happy to refer my customers, if they don't like my work, to other photographers, because there's lots and lots of photographers with different styles.
And Stuart, I'm very curious, if the God gave you another chance to go back to 17, so will you change your career, do something different?
So I'm a firm believer that in an ideal world, you're able to marry together the things you're passionate about, the things you really love, with your employment. I was very fortunate that I loved the Navy.
Yeah. Accidentally, you choose the right career, and you like it.
But I would change one thing now. If I was 17 and I could do it all over again, I'm even a little bit more passionate about photography than what I did in the Navy. I would go into the military as a photographer.
That's another job option.
Of course,
I never know that's an option.
There are hundreds of different occupations in the military, including photographer. So we have it's called image technician. So we have an occupation in the military. They work with the Army, Navy, and Air Force, and they do photography and videography for the military. They produce podcasts like this. They go to ceremonies and photograph award presentations. They do studio portraiture. They do underwater photography of military divers working on the underside of a ship. They do all sorts of photography. They fly in helicopters and photograph from the helicopter. They go into the field with the Army troops and photograph. So they have an exciting, they have the adventure of military life, but also they're doing photography. So if I was 17 again, I think I would come back and join the military as a image technician and do photography. But it's just to demonstrate that there are hundreds of different occupations in the military. So whatever your interest is, you could pursue it with the military, either part-time as a reservist or full-time as a full-time service member.
What's your next goal for your photography journey?
So my main goal in photography is to enjoy myself. I'm very lucky, Joy, because I had that long career in the Navy. I have a very good pension. So I do photography for personal enjoyment. I do have a business, and I am keen to make a successful small business, but I don't need to get wealthy from it. I am looking to make enough money to be able to keep up to date with my equipment. Being a photographer is very expensive when you start out.
Yeah.
So
do you have your own project you mentioned?
I do. So I do business photography, but I also, to remain passionate and enjoy yourself, you need personal projects as a photographer. So I have a couple. I love doing seascape photography. So I get up early in the morning, I take my dog, we drive to Peggy's Cove, or we drive to Lunenburg, or we drive to Fisherman's Reserve up on the eastern shore, or there's a million beautiful scenes in Nova Scotia and Atlantic Canada. So I do seascape photography. The current personal project I'm working on is called People of the Waterfront. And I go down to the Halifax waterfront, as I described, at sunrise, and I will just hang out, and I'll wait for people to come watch the sunrise, and then I go up to them, and I ask them if I can take a street portrait photo of them in the beautiful Halifax waterfront scenery. And most people are happy to let me do that. So if you check out my Instagram, Anchors Away NS, you'll see photos of people who I've photographed in the morning. Someday, when I get enough photos amassed, I hope to publish a book. So I
That can be your goal.
take all those photos and actually publish a book, and I'll call it People of the Waterfront, Halifax, Nova Scotia.
Yeah, maybe one day I can be on the photo.
For
But
sure.
I don't do the sunset, not the sunrise.
I pick you up at 4:30 in the morning this summer. I'll take you down to the waterfront.
I could
and,
never give up
and we'll do a photo shoot.
before 7. That's too hard. Maybe sunset, Stuart. I would definitely do
Perhaps
it for
at
you.
sunset.
So it's coming to the end. Before that, I'm going to ask you a final question is, so what's the one advice you're going to give to young people right now?
Follow your passion. So even though you might have to take on jobs to make a living, to pay your rent, eventually, and you have to be patient with yourself, eventually you will gravitate to things that you really enjoy doing. And then what you need to try and do is go, okay, how can I make a living that is related to my passion? And if you can marry together your passion with what you're doing as work, that's how you're going to optimize succeeding. Yes. Because if you're doing a job that you don't really like, you'll do okay, you'll do fine, you'll make a living at it. But if you can actually land in an employment where it's something you're passionate about, your career's going to take off because you're doing something you love doing. So I would recommend to every young person that they think about, okay, what is it I truly enjoy doing, and how can I start building the skills to get to that point where I'm doing something that I really love to do.
That's very helpful. So Stuart, last but not the least, so what service you can offer to the audience and how can people reach out to you?
So I have a website, Anchors Away Photography. I am on Facebook, Anchors Away NS. I have Instagram, Anchors Away NS. So anybody can reach out to me on social media. Anchors Away Photography is my company. My favorite photography is portrait photography. So whether that's family photos or engagement photos or just individual portraits, I love doing great portraiture photography. I'm also comfortable doing weddings, comfortable doing events, so I can go to a conference and photograph a conference, corporate headshots. So I do a little bit of everything.
Military?
But my true passion, yes, I do some military photography because I'm involved with retired Navy associations, the Naval Association of Canada, the Naval Memorial Trust, HMCS Sackville, which is an old World War II Corvette that you might have seen in the waterfront. Sometimes I'll do a little bit of photography or videography with them. So yeah, I'm available. I'm online. And if anybody wants to check out my work, please go to my Instagram. And yeah, if you're interested in a portrait photo or a family photo, a graduation photo, please connect.
Thank you so much for listening, Chatty Chat. And today's awesome guest, thanks again for Stuart. And as he's mentioned, you can connect to him if you have a photo ideas, you can collaborate with him. But what's more important is if you can comment if you are interested to hear more about Stuart's career, because military career is a very big topic we can talk. And maybe we can invite Stuart to come back to our panel chat. And next time we will have awesome other guests to talk about what's exactly in the military life and how can that help young people to build their future work. If you are interested, you can just comment and let me know. Thank you so much for listening. Hopefully next time we will introduce somebody who is still very interesting. See you next time.